Welcome back to the lab, y'all. It is your old Professor Pilk, and today we really need to talk about the Pokemon that you need to be preparing for tomorrow's incoming Tera Raid event. As you guys know, our new 7-star raid is actually incoming in about 24 hours. Decidueye will be dropping in the game tomorrow evening, and when that happens, it's our first 7-star raid. Basically, since Pikachu, but I'm gonna Pikachu is a weird scenario. I'm going to basically say it's like the next really hype one since, I want to say Greninja, actually. Yeah, it's been a minute since we've had one of these. Now, yesterday we talked about the different typings and things like that you're looking at here. And I'm going to talk about a few Pokemon that I think could be really good for this event. So, first things first, Decidueye, things you need to know, okay? And I'm just going to basically recover what we talked about yesterday. We're not worried about the Hisuian version, so we're just going to look at the base Decidueye. HP ain't great. Attack and special attack are about on the same level. Attack is 107. Special attack is 100. So, obviously this Pokemon is going to focus mostly on physical attacks, but having a few special attacks is not out of the question. Obviously, you can have up to 8 attacks. I think we had like 6 or 7 that we broke down yesterday, and only I think one of those would have been a special attack. That's probably going to be in his repertoire. The best part about this, though, is that defense is pretty low. Special defense is pretty high, but defense is pretty low. So you're looking, and speed's not that great either. So you're looking for Pokemon that are going to be doing more physical attack. And I think that's going to work out in our favor, because if we go down here, this Pokemon is typically weak to Flying, Ghost, Fire, Ice, and Dark. Now, the thing that is going to get a little bit weird here is, remember, this Pokemon is going to have a Flying Tera type. And that is basically going to wipe out all these resistances except for Ice. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Pokemon isn't going to be damaged, by these. It's just going to reduce the amount of damage that they're going to intake from these types of attacks. So, basically, Ice is going to become your best offensive tactic. So what I'm going to focus on here are 3 Ice units and then 1 surprise unit that might actually prove to be the best one out of the group. So, I'm going to start with Bayardic. Now, I'm going to say Bayardic is probably, for me, the lowest rung of the mon you can pick here. Bayardic's got some good attacks. Stats-wise, though, Bayardic becomes a big question mark, okay? Let's go down here. It's level 7 on, or it's Gen 7 onward, okay? So, HP is 95. That ain't great. Attack is 130. That's fantastic. And remember, he's a raw ice type. So, or he, she, it, they are a raw ice type. So, any kind of ice attack is going to do wonders here. It's going to have stab. It's going to be, super effective against our Pokemon. And with 130 attack, it's going to hurt bad. The big downside of this is the defense stat. That defense stat and that special defense stat are not where I'd like them to be. This Pokemon doesn't have bad stats, but you really, really want a lot of defense going into an event like this. Now, let's see, are there any moves in here that actually will... Let's see, I guess Swagger. Swagger could be really good, but it's a big question mark. So what we're looking for is we're looking for things that will, either lower attack or increase defense. And I'm not sure that there's enough here to really make me comfortable with using this. Obviously you can use Endure, but that really isn't going to be great. Bulk Up is actually there, so Bulk Up's not a bad idea. Swords Dance. Swords Dance would be fantastic, but Swords Dance is going to increase attack. Not necessarily do much for defense, but that's where Bulk Up is going to come in. So you do have some options here. Though I do want to say that Avalon here is going to be a better choice all the way around. Now, Bayardic is the lowest end of the spectrum for me. Avalon and I think the next one are about even, in my opinion. This Pokemon is very, 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 very slow. So, speed stat is 28. 28. The Decidueye isn't quick with a 50 speed stat, but this Pokemon is definitely not going to be top tier in the speed department. But check out that defense stat. So HP is 95, which ain't bad. Attack is 117, which is fantastic. That defense stat is through the roof. 184. 184. Now, if you want to talk about skills here, remember we're looking at grass, flying, ghost, and dark attacks. And those are all going to be normal damage. So this is not a bad situation. Now let's see, do we have any moves here? So we've got some Gen 9, so that's a Hisuian version. I'm going to go down here to TMs because I think is where we're going to find the vast majority of our stuff. And we should have some good stuff here. Iron Head, Iron Defense, fantastic. I like that Iron Defense is on here. So you do have some options as far as building this Pokemon out. And obviously in this situation, having Iron Defense is going to help out. I don't necessarily think you need to buff attack because you've already got a lot of ice attacks. So you're going to really focus on as many of the physical ice attacks as possible. You're looking at Blizzard, your Icicle Crash probably not so much, but Blizzard wouldn't be bad even though that's a special attack. Ice Fang's a good one. Let's go down here. And I'm looking at Ice Beam, but you definitely want Ice Spinner. Ice Spinner would be a no-brainer on here. Ice Beam being a special attack, Ice Spinner's going to definitely be your go-to in comparison. But there's not that many Ice physical attacks. A lot of these are just special attacks. But remember, they're going to have Stab, and your opponent is going to be super weak to this. So if you go ahead and put a lot of Ice attacks on there, focus on the physical attacks as much as you can. Obviously, the higher the power, the better. And make sure that you give a really good defensive buff to your opponent or to your Pokemon, and you should be really good. Let's see, what was the one we were looking at here a minute ago? I believe it was... I lost it already. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Iron Defense, there we are. So give Iron Defense, then give a bunch of Ice attacks, and you'll be fantastic. This Pokemon will absolutely hold its own. Now, Satitan is another one that I really, really like. Probably because I recently found a shiny one in the wild, and I really want another reason to flex this Pokemon. Satitan is another really good physical attacking Pokemon. Check out that HP. Base stat is HP is 170. Even though the defense kind of sucks, defense is definitely low, I think that HP stat is more than enough to make up for it. Once again, damaged normally by Grass, Flying, Ghost, and Dark, which I think are our biggest threats when it comes to Decidueye. Obviously, being the Flying Tera, you guaranteed to get a flying attack. Grass and Ghost are definitely up there. So, as far as that goes, I think Satitan is not a terrible choice. But, once again, you'll want to come down here, and you'll want to go ahead and do the same thing. Focus on ice attacks, and focus on physical attacks. Obviously, Ice Beam probably would still be a really good choice there. But you do want, and I'm looking here, I swear we had... did we not have Iron Defense? I thought he had Iron Defense. I'm not finding it now, so maybe he didn't. Maybe I'm... Man, I really thought that... Does Titan learn it up here? I'm not saying. I really thought we had something that gave him a good defensive buff, and I'm actually not seeing it now. Obviously, we have Endure. And I really thought we had something there. But now I'm not seeing it, so maybe I was wrong in that regard. Maybe this Pokemon really doesn't have a good defensive buff. If you've got this Pokemon and you can find a good TM that will give you defensive buffs, because obviously coming out of the gate with both Avalon and Satitan, and now that I'm not seeing, like, you know, with Avalon, like I said, you had Iron Defense as one of your TM options, and Iron Defense would be fantastic, TM 104. So, but I'm not seeing it here. So actually, I think Satitan might actually have just suddenly lost out to Avalon. So in order, I would go Bayardic, Satitan, then Avalon if you have them. Now, There is a fourth and final option, and this is one I hadn't really considered, but one of my other long-time subscribers at this point followed some of the other Pokemon projects that we had going on the main channel, which, by the way, those are going to be moving over to this channel here very, very soon, actually pointed out King Gambit to me. And at first I was like, this Pokemon, yes, it's a very good Pokemon, but this actually, in my opinion, might be the best of the bunch. And let me explain why. Even though the typing is a big question mark, if you actually go down here, King Gambit is resistant to flying, is resistant to ghost, is resistant to dark, and is resistant to grass. So immediately you've got a very good defensive situation. Now, the downside is there are no ice moves that this Pokemon learns. There really are not any ice moves this Pokemon learns. So, as far as damage goes, you're gonna, no matter what you do offensively, you're just going to be doing normal damage. But let's go back up here and look at the stats. With an HP stat of 135, a defensive stat of 120, and HP 100, attack 135, and defense 120, I actually think you're in a really good state. The only thing that might really suck is if your opponent does have that special attack and spams that. Because remember, this is a big if I'm right, and we have, what did I say it was? It was the Energy Ball. So Energy Ball has a base PP of 10. I believe that goes up to, or is that the max? I think that's the base PP. I don't think that's the max PP. I'm going to assume that it can go up to something like 18. So you can take a lot of those hits, and they will not be fun. But the really nice part about King Gambit, if we go down here, King Gambit has Iron Defense. King Gambit has Swords Dance. Put both of those on King Gambit, it really won't matter what you do at that point, so long as you pick any kind of attack that's neutral. So if we go back here up to Decidueye, neutral attacks damage normally by Ghost, Dark, remember, because those are going to be let's say damage normally, it's gonna add a little resistance, so you'll still get a little bit harder hit, but it's not gonna be like the same stab effect. It's not gonna hit as hard as an ice move will. But ghost moves, dark moves, they'll all do quite well. Steel moves still won't be bad, and you'll actually get a stab boost out of both steel and dark. So those are not bad choices. Any kind of physical move that you can give, especially dark and especially steel, are still going to be quite good. You're not going to out-damage Avalon by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're able to get off 3 Swords Dance and 3 Iron Defense, I believe both those, unless I'm mistaken, I believe both of those raise your stats double. In other words, instead of going up 2 points, or instead of going up 1 point, it goes up 2 of a possible total 6. If you're able to do 3 Iron Defenses and 3 Swords Dances, or heck, if you just do 3 Swords Dances, you'll still be producing an insane amount of damage. And if you can then do 3 Iron Defenses, you're going to be just laughing at the incoming damage. So honestly, I'm going to change my tune on this a little bit. As much as I was really prepared for you guys to start preparing some of your Icemon, I really think King Gambit's it. That's my 2 cents on that. If you have a King Gambit, or if you have Bisharp in general, and you can actually get that King Gambit. So evolves from Bisharp upon leveling up after defeating 3 Bisharp that hold the leader's crest. So go find those Bisharps, go level up, and there are certain places on the map where you can actually find them pretty regularly. It did not take long for me to get my King Gambit leveled up. You will need this Pokemon to level 100, but put a Dark move on there, put a Steel move on there, Iron Defense, Swords Dance, and you're never gonna look back. Heck, give him Leftovers or Shell Bell to get a little bit of HP healing, and you'll annihilate this event. It might be a long event, but it still is going to be significantly more comfortable than with any of the Icemon I was recommending, strangely enough. So like, comment, share, guys. See you guys tomorrow for the Tera Raid, and I'll catch you guys on tomorrow's video.